Hi, I'm James Lamont, Director of the Vadine Center for Rural Economic Development at the University of Minnesota Crookston. I would like to welcome you to Part 8 of our supply chain series. This week, we will talk about produce supply chains in the United States. That's inclusive of roughly 75,000 fresh vegetable farms and over 100,000 fresh fruit facilities. Approximately 10 million acres produce fresh produce annually in the United States. Where the process begins is basically at the farm. It's produced and then it's moved into warehouse space. From there, a wholesaler either buys it in bulk so that they can sell it in bulk for distribution capacity throughout the market chain, mostly in fresh food markets or grocery stores, or a wholesaler is sold to so that they can add value to the product. It is then packed at a center, which is then moved to a distribution capacity. Whether that's located at the center or moved to a separate facility is dependent on whomever purchased the goods. From there, it moves from the distribution center to retail communities throughout the United States, and eventually that's where the consumer buys it. What's important about produce, unlike other products that we've discussed so far, is that it has a very short shelf life. So you've only got a couple days if there isn't value add and specific packing mechanisms to add life to the product. What happened with fresh produce with COVID-19 was the largest producers or consumers rather in the United States, such as school systems and restaurants, were unable to purchase any more fresh produce due to the fact that their operations immediately shut down. Simultaneously, retail saw a spike in terms of its capacity to sell, but it didn't have the absorption capability within its warehousing and distribution structure to meet the demand. So, in essence, you had two pillars that effectively stopped buying, and you had one pillar that was struggling to meet demand while simultaneously absorbing the capacity. So, like dairy and milk products, distribution capacity wasn't quite set up to have volatile demand. So retail continued, but shortages ensued due to the fact that they were unable to absorb. And then at the same time, you had food banks, which had a large demand, also unable to absorb the massive capacity within their distribution structures. So unfortunately, programs like Meals on Wheels couldn't serve their customers, but at the same time, they had the demand. Um, Contracts as well couldn't be shifted in time to meet the requisite shift. And millions of products were destroyed across the country, millions of tons rather. And you see pictures of that ranging from vegetables to fruits, and it's just really sad because there was a massive demand for the product, and there was a supply problem, and there was just kinks in the middle within the distribution capacity. So now we're going to talk with some produce producers and processors and learn more about what their actual experiences were like during the peak of COVID. Since then, distribution has since stabilized here in the summer of 2020, but it'll be great to hear from our producers and so that they can tell you precisely what happened from their business perspective. Thank you for joining us in part 8 of this series.